The village of Nobi was a serene place, its red-dirt roads winding through groves of palm trees and farmlands. It was here that Amara, a young woman of 24, lived with her family. Free-spirited and full of life, she was known for her infectious laughter and kind heart. But life in the village wasn't easy, and when her father fell ill, Amara decided to take a job in the city as a housemaid to support her family. Her new employer was Obinna, a wealthy businessman and widower in Enugu. He lived in a sprawling compound with high walls, but the house within was far from warm. Obinna, once known for his charm, had become withdrawn and grumpy since losing his wife 3 years ago. His 3 children, Nkechi, 10, Uchenna, 8, and little Eda, just 5, were a reflection of his sorrow. The house was cold, not because of its marble floors, but because it lacked joy. Amara arrived on a Monday morning, clutching her small bag of belongings. She was greeted by a stern-looking Obinna, who barely glanced at her as he explained her duties. He spoke with the clipped tone of a man used to giving orders and having them obeyed. "The children need structure," he said. "No nonsense." Amara nodded, her heart sinking slightly. But as she looked at the 3 children peeking at her from behind the door, her resolve strengthened. She would bring life back to this house, no matter how long it took. Amara's first few days were challenging. The children were wary of her, and Obinna barely spoke more than a few words at a time. But Amara had a way of breaking down walls. She began with small gestures, singing cheerful songs as she cooked, telling stories of her village during bedtime, and treating the children with warmth and patience. One afternoon, she noticed Uchenna sitting alone in the garden, staring at a broken toy car. She sat beside him, took out some tools, and began to fix it. By the time she was done, Uchenna was beaming, and for the first time, she saw a hint of joy in his eyes. Her bond with the children grew day by day. She taught Nkechi how to braid her hair, played hide-and-seek with Ada, and encouraged Uchenna to draw. Slowly, the house began to fill with laughter and life. Obinna couldn't help but notice the changes. He watched from the balcony one evening as Amara danced in the living room with Ada perched on her hip. Nkechi and Uchenna clapped along, their laughter echoing through the house. It stirred something in him, a mixture of gratitude and a strange warmth he hadn't felt in years. But he remained distant, unsure of how to bridge the gap. He often found himself irritated by how easily Amara seemed to connect with the children, how effortlessly she brought sunshine into their lives. He didn't want to admit it, but he was drawn to her, her beauty, her kindness, and her ability to find joy in the smallest things. One evening, Obinna came home earlier than usual to find Amara in the kitchen. She was humming a tune as she prepared dinner. The aroma of jollof rice filled the air, and for a moment, he stood there, watching her. She turned and saw him, startled. "Good evening, sir," she said, wiping her hands on a towel. "Obinna," he corrected. "You can call me Obinna." She smiled, nodding. "All right, Obinna." It was the beginning of a shift between them. They began to talk more, often late at night when the children were asleep. Amara shared stories of her life in Nobi, her dreams, and her hopes. Obinna, in turn, opened up about his late wife, his struggles as a single father, and his fears of letting anyone into his life again. One rainy afternoon, the children begged Amara to take them outside to play. Obinna protested at first but eventually gave in when he saw their pleading faces. They ran barefoot in the rain, splashing in puddles and laughing until their cheeks hurt. Even Obinna joined in, though reluctantly at first. Amara teased him, calling him an old man, and soon he was chasing the children around the garden, his laughter mixing with theirs. As the rain eased, Obinna found himself standing under the shade of a mango tree with Amara. The children were busy building a mud castle nearby. "You've changed this house," he said quietly. She looked at him, her eyes soft. "No, I think this house just needed someone to remind it how to live. Their gazes locked, and for a moment, the world around them disappeared. But before anything more could happen, little Ada tugged at Amara's dress, breaking the spell. Over the following months, Obinna and Amara grew closer. Their shared moments became more frequent, filled with unspoken feelings and lingering glances. But it wasn't until Nkechi's school recital that everything changed. Amara had spent weeks helping Nkechi practice her poem, and when the big day arrived, Obinna was there in the audience, watching with pride. After the recital, Nkechi ran up to Amara and threw her arms around her. "Thank you, Mama," she said, her voice loud and clear. Amara froze, tears springing to her eyes. Obinna, standing nearby, felt a lump in his throat. Later that evening, as they sat on the veranda, he turned to her. "You've become more than just a housemaid to us," he said. "You've become family." Amara looked at him, her heart pounding. "I care about all of you. More than I can say." Obinna reached for her hand. "Stay with us, Amara. Not as a maid, but as my wife. As their mother." Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. "Yes. Yes, I will." Their wedding was a simple but joyous affair in Nobi, with friends and family from both sides celebrating their union. Amara brought life not just to Obinna and his children, but to everyone around her. She became the mother they had lost and the partner Obinna never thought he'd find again. The house in Enugu was no longer cold. It was warm, filled with laughter, love, and the sound of little feet running through its halls. Amara had brought sunshine into their lives, and in return, she found the family she had always dreamed of. And so, their story ended where it truly began, with love, joy, and a promise of forever.
Thanks for watching.